So recently, it's already been a couple of days ago, like 4 or 5 days ago. But recently, uh, U.S. was flying surveillance drone around the Black Sea, and basically what happened is that a Russian fighter jet, I guess, saw it and was like, "I'm gonna go destroy this," or "I'm gonna go do something with it," and you know, and then the people said that or Russia said that they didn't hit it, but obviously we can see we saw it hit and then the cameras just shut off.
U.S. officials say this drone left its base in Eastern Europe on what the U.S. assumed was going to be a routine surveillance flight over the Black Sea. The U.S. sends these drones into the Black Sea there routinely because they can see into Russian-occupied Crimea, and depending on where they are, into Russia itself. And a reminder, MQ-9s are big. They're 60 feet wide. They're 35 feet long. They weigh 5,000 pounds. Now, a military official tells me that this drone was unarmed. These drones in the Black Sea have been harassed intermittently by Russia before, but never what we saw today. Never has a Russian jet harassed a drone for 30 minutes, then dumped fuel on the drone, then actually ran into the drone. Let's listen to Department of Defense spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder earlier today.
While intercepts in and of themselves are not that uncommon, the fact that this type of behavior from these Russian pilots, that is uncommon and unfortunate and unsafe.
A U.S. official who watched the video of this incident goes much further. He told me that this was not a controlled tap. The Russian pilot was barreling toward the drone, out of control, tried to pull away from the drone, and that's when the Russian jet actually hit the back of it. This person tells me, quote, "This was not something you would see a professional pilot do," called it amateur hour.
So, Nick, how serious is this latest incident in light of the existing tensions between the U.S. and Russia over the war in Ukraine?
On the one hand, it's very serious because it just doesn't happen. This is certainly the first incident, physical contact between the U.S. and Russian militaries since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. But frankly, it's believed to be the first contact in decades between the U.S. and Russian militaries. On the other hand, this was not a manned aircraft. We're not talking about a Russian jet threatening a U.S. pilot, and the administration is trying to keep it within the diplomatic lane. The Russian ambassador to the U.S. has been summoned to the State Department. The U.S. ambassador to Moscow visited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Moscow this afternoon. John Kirby, the NSC staff spokesman, said if the message that Russia's sending is trying to deter us from flying over the Black Sea, that will fail. But Jeff, if there was a consequence to Russia right now, the U.S. will not say what that is.
So that basically just majority just sums it up. So I guess just to give like a little recap or a little say about it is that basically U.S. flew a drone over the Black Sea, and Russia was like, no, we don't want that here. So then they decided to crash into it with their own fighter jet, and basically, bing, bada, bing, bada, boom. You know what happened? The jet flew down and somehow landed in Crimea. Just to get a little bit more in depth into it, we're gonna be reading this article right here, or I'm gonna be reading it for you guys. Because I don't want you guys to read it. I want you guys to, I guess, or if you want to read with me, you can. Let's get into it. Russia says it will try to retrieve the drone after warning U.S. to stop hostile flights near its border. So Russia is trying to, as of right now, they've said that Russia has gotten the drone recently, or not recently. That Russia has gotten the drone, and they're basically just studying it and stuff like that. And to read the article, it says the Kremlin has warned the United States to cease hostile activity near its border and said it would seek to retrieve the wreckage of the American drone. The crash into the Black Sea after a dramatic encounter with Russian fighter jet. Kyiv said Wednesday that the incident, the first known direct confrontation between the two superpowers since Russia invaded Ukraine last year, illustrated the Kremlin desire to expand the conflict. The U.S. military said a Russian fighter jet harassed then collided with the propeller on the MQ-9 Reaper on Tuesday, forcing the U.S. to bring the drone down in international waters. Washington said that it was a brazen violation of international law and summoned Moscow envoy to lodge a protest. Now, just to give you guys a perspective how big this drone is, if you don't remember what they said of how big the drone is or how heavy it is. This drone is 5,000 pounds, and it's also 60 feet wide. That's pretty huge. I mean, it's also like a surveillance drone. There's no one in it. It's an unmanned drone. So like they're operating it, but just like away from the plane, not inside or anything like that. But Russia denied its plane came into contact with the drone and said the U.S. was blamed provocation by conducting surveillance near Russian airspace to help Ukraine. Russian authorities said Wednesday they hope to recover the remaining of the drone. I don't know if we will be able to get it or not, said Nikolai Preshiv. Excuse me for not being able to speak English or either speak Russian or either pronounce this name. I'm sorry. I'm not Russian. I don't speak the language. I can't pronounce it correctly. I'm sorry. The Secretary of Russian National Security Council, according to the state-run news agency TASS, but he added, "We will definitely work to do it." Sergei Narvishkin. I said, please excuse me if I can't pronounce it right. I can't speak right now either. I'm quite a little bit. So, the head of Russia Foreign Intelligence Service also noted that his country has the capability to recover the drone fragments. Earlier, Russia's ambassador to the U.S. said that Washington should refrain from further speculations in the media landscape to stop making sorties near Russian borders. Speaking after his meeting at the State Department, Anatoly Natov said, "We perceived any actions involving the use of American weapons and military equipment as openly hostile," according to a statement published by the Embassy Telegram on Wednesday. He said the Kremlin fighter jets didn't hit the American drone or use weapons. He echoed earlier assertions from the Russian Defense Ministry, which said he had scrambled planes to intercept the drone after it intruded into the area near Crimea that Moscow had declared off limits for the purpose of what it calls its special military operations in Ukraine. The unacceptable actions of the United States military in the close proximity of the borders are cause and concern. Antony said that gathered intelligence, which is subsequently used by the Kyiv regime to strike in our armed forces and territory. He said that the Russia do not seek confrontation. So basically, they're just trying to justify whatever happened to basically just justify taking out the drone. The clash was a sign of Russian President Vladimir Putin readiness to expand the conflict zone with the involvement of the parties. Okskeletsky, Danilov, man, I can't pronounce these names at all. These are hard names. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce it. The Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council said that Twitter on Wednesday Putin was losing on the battlefield and so consistently raising its stakes in the hope of change in circumstance, he said. So basically just saying that Russia's basically just doing absolutely terrible right now. That's basically just to sum up what he said. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace also called on Russia to respect international space. The key here was that all parties respect international airspace and urged the Russians to do so, he told returters at the defense show in Japan. Two Russian Su-27 fighters jet had tracked the surveillance drone as it flew in international airspace over the Black Sea, which bordered Turkey, Ukraine, and Russia, among the other countries, according to the European Command. Before the collision of jet dumped fuel and flew in front of the MQ-9 in a reckless, environmentally unsound, and unprofessional manner, it said in a statement. The U.S. summoned Antonov to the State Department over incidents. Spokesperson Ned Price to report Tuesday to Congress strong objection to this unsafe professional intercept. In meeting between Antonov and Karen DeFried, The Assistant Secretary of Eurasian Affairs lasted less than an hour, and senior State Department officials said two U.S. defense officials said that the Russian jet that collided with the drone did not crash, but instead landed in Crimea. They said it the first time they are aware of Russian jet dropping fuel on the U.S. aircraft during an intercept. The U.S. has wiped out the drone's software and considering its salvage options for wreckage, but Russia can reach whatever remains of the drone faster than the U.S. ship, officials said. The U.S. would need to send a ship through the Bosporus from the Mediterranean Sea to the Black Sea, while Russia has ships in the Black Sea. Turkey has restricted permission for U.S. and other warships to transit the strait in recent months, they said. So I guess just to sum it up a little bit, they can't. The U.S. basically can't get back the drone, but they already erased basically all the software in it, but still. With that drone, I mean, they basically have like a lot of information they can get from that, like just the way how it's built and everything, like all the technology in it. Big RC plane. That's basically just what it is. But basically, the U.S. can't get back the drone at all. Because Turkey won't allow them. Turkey's kind of like in a little pickle, in between Russia and the U.S. That's more complicated matters that I guess if you guys want me to talk about later on, I can, but I don't really know. I don't really want to talk about it right now because I don't really understand the circumstance right now or remember it too much. But I know it's kind of like where they want to be in the middle. If you guys want to see that, let me know. Ladies, I think that'll be it for the video. I'll talk to you guys later.